Hi everybody, it's time for your Farm and Ranch News. Well, a few days ago, farmers weren't the only folks meeting in Orlando, Florida. That's because lots and lots of folks from America's pork industry were also meeting in the Sunshine State as part of this year's National Pork Industry Forum. And one of those in attendance was the immediate past president of the National Pork Producers Council, Terry Walters out of Pipestone, Minnesota, who told us that one of the big issues that they're working on and continuing to follow is Proposition 12 and its implications not just for the pork industry, but for all of American agriculture.
Ultimately, here this past October, we were able to get in and present our case to the Supreme Court. We're expecting we could have a announcement and at any time. We're really on the clock as we speak. But ultimately, that's in the hands of the Supreme Court, and it's not, to your point, it's not only about pork. Pork's the issue of the current case, but really it's about the Dormant Commerce Clause and ultimately how states interact or do business with each other. In our view, we just feel like the ability for the state of California to regulate industry outside its borders is beyond its jurisdiction. And so ultimately we're feeling really good about our position and our case, and we look forward to their announcement.
You know, speaking of the U.S. Supreme Court, Proposition 12 isn't the only issue that's before them right now. Water, of course, is the lifeblood of every farm and ranch and rural community across America. And one that's reemerged, unfortunately, is the highly controversial waters of the U.S. rule.
That's true, and so that's, again, it's added regulation to our industry. We've got a lot of concern on how that could impact our industry in a macro sense, but at the same time, pork producers in particular work very diligently to apply manure to the land, follow the rules, and regenerate the nutrients of the land, and so it's definitely top of mind for many producers.
Animal health issues are being talked about here in Orlando this week with pork producers like yourself. Two that come to mind, African swine fever and foot and mouth disease.
Yeah, so those two issues, we definitely would bundle those into foreign animal disease threats to our industry. Obviously, African swine fever is spreading wildly through the globe. There's a high impact to the entire pork industry across the nation, not the globe, not the nation, excuse me. But ultimately, we're concerned about it here in the United States because we've got it in the Dominican Republic, which is as close as it's ever been since the 70s. And that is top of mind for many pork producers, that we got to keep it off the mainland United States. So how that has impacted the global availability of pork is top of mind. Associated with foot and mouth disease, as you mentioned, that is also a greater concern from a broader perspective because it impacts beef and dairy as well as the pork industry. That's been a key focus of our Farm Bill asks in previous farm bills. We want to maintain our vaccine bank for foot and mouth disease. We want to maintain our diagnostic lab and our surveillance systems. We want funding to continue to protect our borders through the Beagle Brigade program that we refer to it. And it's all about having the dogs search and investigate cargo as it's coming into the nation here. And ultimately, that's our biggest threat from our perspective.
And by the way, the new president of the National Pork Producers Council for the coming year is Scott Hayes out of Monroe City, Missouri. For more information about the National Pork Producers Council, you can jump online and visit them at nppc.org.